So it's 10 o'clock Central European time. Maybe some of you are from other time zones. Thank you for accommodating to manage to be present today. Let me see. Yes, there are few people that are still joining, but I will just start with a short introduction, as other colleagues are maybe joining in the initial minutes after 10 o'clock. My name is Ivana. I work in ICROFS, that is International Center for Research in Organic Food Systems. Some of you might be familiar with these institutions. We are also Secretariat of CORE Organic Program, and my colleague Casper and I are today from the Program Secretariat to provide an overview of the call and also to facilitate this meeting. Together with the Program Secretariat, we have Elena Capolino and Alice Albertini from the COL Secretariat. It's our colleagues from the MIPA, from the funding agency. It's Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Food Policies, Forestry Policies in Italy. And they are working directly on the call. With them, you would be in a more direct contact in case you have questions in the coming period regarding the application process and other possible queries. So let's start. Let me see. Why my slides are not moving? Casper, do you have any suggestion why my slides are not moving? What do I need to do?
Yes, Ivana, I might have a suggestion. When you click the option to share your screen, you might instead of just choosing the window itself, you could choose the whole screen.
So do I stop sharing and do
Yes.
some? Yeah. Okay. And now I do share screen, and then
you should have the possibility of either sharing. I think you've only got one screen, right? So maybe it says screen 1.
Presentation. I have multiple things that are open, and that is what I can share.
Yes.
Okay, maybe.
And you can't find another tab that says okay.
Can you see it now?
I can see it, but I think the problem is that when you change it to the full size format, I think it becomes another application, and that one you're not sharing at the moment. So a possibility is that you can now go into the slideshow and then press Alt Tab on your keyboard and then share the other window that you've just opened.
Can you do that? You have the presentation. Can you?
I'll just find it shortly.
Yeah,
yes.
I think that's easier. You seem to be much more technically equipped than I am. So while Casper is finding the right presentation, I think you can still see we have some housekeeping rules today. The webinar will be recorded because we would like to have this webinar available for people that cannot attend today. Please keep your microphones and cameras turned off when you're not speaking and when the presentations are on. Please write your questions in the chat. We will try to provide some of the answers during the question and answer sessions, and remaining questions will be collected. So we will take them from the chat and we will include them in frequently answered questions section that will be on our website of the Cofund, available for your consultations at any time. So you will have these presentations afterwards, and there is a link to the CORE Organic Cofund website. There is a specific section on third call 2021. Casper, how?
Yes, the problem is that I have it in a PDF format and not in the PowerPoint format.
But it doesn't matter. You can
Okay.
still, it's important to see it on the screen. It doesn't, the information is the same. So I will
Yes.
just stop sharing.
Okay. Can you see it by now?
Yes, please, you can just go ahead. So first important information for you is that besides the call secretariat colleagues from MIPAF that are together with us today, so Elena Capolino and Alice Albertini, we have also colleagues that are in ICROFs that will work together on call questions, and Merete Studnitz and Malene Jacobsen are also contact points. Feel free to contact any four of them for your questions. I see that Merete is with us today as well. Welcome. During the meeting, if there are any questions, I think they will already try to give the feedback. You have two important links that will be your reference points during this process. So there is a CORE Organic third call announcement with important document on national regulations and other annexes as budgets and national contact points. You can find this on the Cofund website. And there is a separate submission website. This is a very frequent setting in calls, Ethernet calls. There is a separate submission site where you prepare your proposal. Everything is online, where you fill in the templates, and you can also access a partnering tool in case you would like to find partners and network with other colleagues interested in the areas that you are working on. So there is a separate submission website, and again, you have it available here. Casper, please, if we can go on. Presentation today will be within roughly 1 hour. My presentation will be around 15 minutes with some clarification questions at the end. And again, my colleague Elena and Alice will have 10 to 15 minutes for their presentations. We will work on 3 different parts. My part will be general introduction. Elena will work on evaluation, and Alice will introduce you in the online tool. Thank you. So let's start with some general parts. You don't need to memorize all the details. I will give you a little bit of an idea how this call came about. I will give you an idea what is the rationale and scope of this call. And then we will go more into the specific call text aspects that I think it's really essential for you in this context. But before we move on, Casper, I think that I have sent you a file that was actually sent by some kind of Aarhus University transfer file, and that is the last version of presentation. I think that we need to have that file. This PDF file is not the last version. I have sent it to you yesterday late. Do you have it maybe in your files?
Just looking for it.
Yes. I think it's important to have the last version because this will be recorded, and it's good that the colleagues can have a proper view.
Presentation by email. So maybe
Yes,
it's easier
yes,
if
yes.
you check the last email.
Yeah, this is the last version. Yeah. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide, and also to the next. Maybe for you, it's good to know where this call is placed. Iranet CORE Organic is a network of public institutions, so ministries of agriculture or science, ministries or research councils from different European countries. You can see the dark green geography of CORE Organic. The network was funded in 2004. I think that many of you are familiar with the projects that are funded by currently CORE Organic Cofund members. It's 26 partners from 19 different countries and regions. The key aspect is really funding organic food and farming on transnational level. That is the strength of CORE Organic. That is our trademark. And that is what was happening in CORE Organic 1, 2, CORE Organic Plus, and now in Cofund. Overall, we have 7 calls until now. This is our 8th call, 57 research projects, and the total amount of 57.8 million euros. Yeah, this is, I think, just for you to understand that there is a continuity in this program, and this call is something that it is a part of evolution of this program. Please, if we can have a next slide. It is a quite exceptional call, organic farming systems for improved mixed plant and animal production. You can understand that I think you as researchers and we as coordinators and funders are trying to respond to something that is happening in Europe, and that is not only in Europe, wider than Europe, but European Green Deal has stipulated very high targets of 25% of European Union's agricultural land under organic farming by 2030. This is our response where we would like to give a chance to organic research and innovation in organic research to respond to these targets. And of course, it is new. We usually had a very specific calls on different topic areas in the livestock, in the plant production, in the food systems. Now we have tried to seek for synergy and work more on system organic farming system approaches. So this is the result of our intention. You can see that the expected impacts of our third call are to adopt certain organic food system thinking with mixed farming practices, supporting animal health and welfare, innovating cropping and production systems, as well as feed production and biodiversity. Thank you. Please, if we can have a next slide. What is the schedule of this time, of this call? Now we are already in the phase that is beyond December. So the launch of the call has happened on 11th of January. Webinar is what we are having today in order to explain the call. And we have a very important date on 8th of March, 11 o'clock. That is a deadline for your proposals. After this period, we have review process. It will be one-step procedure. So until June 2021, your proposals will be reviewed as usual by experts. And this will be then communicated to the funders, and the selection process is combination of experts and funders as decision makers. Notification letters will be sent hopefully in early July in order to start the negotiations as soon as possible and be able to have the projects of maximum 36 months in starting within this year in autumn 21. Please, if we can have next slide. The main subtopics, because we have an overall arching theme that is the core topic, organic farming systems for improved mixed plant and animal production. We have 3 subtopics. First one is on robust and resilient mixed animal farming systems. Second is to support robust and resilient crop production systems. And third is on eco-efficient production and use of animal feed at a local level. We highly encourage you to look into call text, that is Annex A, to look in the supporting documents like IFOAM organic principles, and to have a really in-depth study and understanding of what has been recommended in the text, in Annex A, in the call text. Thank you. Please, the next slide. In this call, not everybody in CORE Organic Network, so not all 26 partners are taking part. We have 13 partners. Some of them are also from outside CORE Organic Network. So it's 13 funding agencies that have committed approximately 5 million euros. It is a smaller call comparing to our calls when all partners are working together, but this was, we thought that this was still necessity in order to support the research community, and we tried to do it through this slightly smaller call, but still to provide the possibility for you to work over the following period. Annex B is where you can see all the funders, and you can also see the available funds. If we can see the next slide, please. So this is the call budget. This is also a very important document. You can see each country with their contact person, with the funds committed. So this is in kilo euros. So Algeria is having 1,100 euros, and you can see per each country what are the committed funds. Please pay attention that in 3 sub topics, not all countries are granting funds for all 3 subtopics. We have an exception in Finland, Germany, and Slovenia, where the funding agencies have certain limitations for which subtopic they can fund. This is very important because it means that you are simply not granted possibility to work in this area if you are a researcher from these countries. Maximum budget is 1 million euro per project. And you should, of course, check the national regulations if there are some specific guidelines about allocation of the budget for you as a researcher from this country. Thank you. Please, if we can see the next slide. Who can apply? All institutions, legal entities involved in research and innovation are invited to apply. They could be, of course, they have to respect the national rules within stipulated documents of CORE Organic and the funding partners. There should be minimum 3 countries, so 3 different partner countries and 3 different independent legal entities. We have a possibility also to invite partners that are not directly part within the call, so they're not the countries within the call, but if they have a possibility to fund themselves in kind, they can also take part in the consortia. Individuals can only participate in one project proposal and can apply to one subtopic. As mentioned before, the project should start in 21, in the autumn of 21, and are planned for maximum of 36 months. Please, if we can have a next slide.
Yes, we do have a raised hand, Ivana. I don't know if you want to take questions now or if you want to wait.
I think we should finish with the presentation. It's not many more slides, and then we can have few minutes of clarification questions. We have also 2 important annexes that have briefly been mentioned. So this is National Contact Points, Annex C. Please contact your national contact point when you're preparing your research proposal. It's always, I think, good to hear if there are some specific rules that maybe you have omitted from during reading, or so be in touch with the national contact point. You have the all the data in Annex C, and then the national regulations are really important. Many of you are familiar with this model where each country have diverse national regulations. That is unfortunately a necessity of this transnational program. We always work towards more alignment, but still we have certain national rules that are individual. If we can see the next slide. I would like to highlight some examples how these national regulations can be different. For instance, Finland is not funding subtopic 1, Germany is not funding subtopic 1 and 3, and German funding body BIMEL will exclusively fund research projects related to resilient berry fruit production systems. So this is a very specific requirement for German researchers. Slovenia is not funding subtopic 3. Turkish funding body has also specificity that they fund only research institutions from their own network. It means that you're really highly recommended and should contact the Turkish funding body in order to understand which institutions are eligible to be funded directly from GDAR. Some other general comments, possibly you can have additional national requirements in terms of application forms or questionnaires. There could be upper limit for your budget in the proposal. So for Germany and Denmark, for instance, is 200,000 euros. For Bulgaria is 102,000 euros. This is conversion from Bulgarian leva. So you should also consider that maybe there are other currencies that stipulate certain amounts. You might be requested your own contribution based on the budget that is requested. And there could be very often, I think, eligible costs are described in the national regulations. So I think this is very important, Annex D. And I think this is my last slide. Kasper, can we see if I have something else? Yes. I have seen that the questions were coming, so maybe we can take for a few minutes some clarification questions. My colleague Elena Capolino maybe has selected something that it will be appropriate for a larger audience, and then more specific questions will be answered in the frequently asked question section on our website.
Okay, the first question is, does animal production in the call includes fish? Do you want me to answer?
Please, Elena, please.
We suggest for that issue, yes, to ask your funding bodies in order to, yes, you need to be sure that they, your funding bodies can support fish production. Then there's another question, what is the latest date of starting a granted project, sorry. We aim at having the project start in autumn of this year, but this can also depend on the national contracting. So from our side, from the side of the consortium, we would like the projects to start this at the end of this year. And many of the funding bodies have allocated their money for this year. So yes, the purpose is to have the start of these projects by the end of this year.
I support this answer from Elena's side. We have tried to make the call selection process as short as possible. It's also one-step procedure in order to have the negotiation period starting already in summer and in autumn. There is also a situation with the COVID-19 that there could be various impacts on a research community, on funding agencies. Please be in touch with us, notify us if you experience certain challenges. I think we should all be supportive and try to work our way through and be able to start in autumn. Thank you.
Another question, have I missed Austria on the previous slides? Do you mean that Austria's funding body is missing? Yes, Austria doesn't fund this school. Another question, Ivana?
Yes, just in case you have a national or local or any kind of funding within Austria, you can still work with the in-kind contribution from some other sources that are not directly from the funding agency.
Another question, individuals applying, does it mean researcher or institute? We mean researcher. One single person can apply to only one project proposal, with a one project proposal. And then are individual partners persons or can one proposal cover more than one sub-team, 1, 2, and 3? Or is it one proposal limited to one sub-theme? Yes, we would like, the proposal has to address one of the sub-themes. You have to choose.
I think that we take another 2 questions and then move to your presentation, Elena. I see that there is a question on how, from Ina Anastasiou, how does an institution find partners? And do you have a database of interested partners? We have a partnering tool. Please mute your microphones because we are participating in your call. Thank you. So to Ina, please on the submission tool, follow the link on the submission tool, and there is a partnering tool where you can register and exchange with other colleagues on possible joint projects and joint work. Elena, if you have some other question, and then we will move to your presentation.
There's a question that says that Bulgaria would apparently fund only basic research. I wonder whether you could clarify what basic may mean. You have to ask the national contact point of Bulgaria.
We will save the chat and see if we definitely didn't respond to all the questions. So we'll save the chat and respond in the joint document to those questions that have not been clarified. I give floor to Elena Capolino, and she will present the part on evaluation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ivana. The next slide, please. Okay, we give you now some information about the evaluation procedure we will adopt. We'll have an international expert panel composed of scientists having a high expertise in organic research and of the organic sector. Every eligible proposal will be assessed by 3 of these experts. They will have to write to submit prepare evaluation reports where they will have to describe the strengths and the weaknesses of the proposal they have been assigned to, and they will have to give some scores on the basis of some predetermined evaluation criteria. The evaluations will be assembled in a ranking list that will be finalized during an evaluation meeting. And we will have nominated among the experts one chair. This chair will moderate the whole, will have moderated the whole evaluation process and will chair the evaluation meeting. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yes, thank you. These are the 3 evaluation criteria the expert will have to assess, to analyze. There are, as you see, there are sub-criteria, but I will not go through them. You can find them described in the call announcement. But I suggest that you read them so that you can understand how the work of the evaluators is organized. So the 3 criteria are excellence of the research proposal, quality and efficiency of the implementation, and potential impact of your planned activities. Besides yes, 1 second on this slide. Besides the evaluation of the proposal against these criteria, the experts also have to do a check of the ethical issues that could come out, that could arise from the planned research activities. So in case your proposal contravenes the fundamental ethical principles, it will be rejected. So please read the section in the call announcement dedicated to this aspect. There's the link to the European guidelines for the self-assessment of these ethical issues. Please, the next slide. So how does the evaluation works in practice? The 3 experts assigned to a proposal have to write an evaluation report, and they have to give a score for each criterion from 0 to 5. We calculate the mean scores of these 3 evaluations. If this mean score is below 3, the project is directly rejected. And then we calculate the total of the sum of these 3 scores, which goes directly in the ranking list. And one of the 3 experts will be assigned as rapporteur, and he will have to summarize the evaluation and the 3 evaluations. So he will write this evaluation summary report that will need to be agreed on by the other 2 experts. As I said, the evaluation procedure ends with the evaluation meeting. So the final ranking list is submitted to the core board. Can you please go to the next slide? Thank you. So the funding bodies meet. They will have the ranking list. They will have, for their funding decision, they will have to strictly follow the ranking list. But it could happen that some proposals having the same rank cannot be funded because one or more funding bodies run out of money, which means that the funding bodies, in that case, the funding body has used all the committed money for the previous projects. So in that case, we will apply some additional selection criteria, which are geographical balance, coverage of subtopics not addressed in the previously selected projects, and funding as many projects as possible. So we will try to have in that situation the highest representation of countries. We will have the as many topics as possible, and we'll also try to select as many projects as possible. After the funding decision, the CORE Secretary will send a notification letter to the coordinators of the submitted proposals. And this notification letter will include the outcomes of the funding decision together with the evaluation report. So you will be able to read the evaluations provided by the experts. Thank you. That's all from my side. Do you have questions about the evaluation?
I didn't see any questions in the chat about Elena's presentation, but if you would like to pose some question, you can also unmute yourself and ask directly. I think we might not have some questions on evaluation procedures. These are procedures that are described in the call announcement. Some of you are familiar also in the previous years. This is the mechanism of transnational working and how the funding partners manage to bridge the national funds into a common pot. From the chat in the previous session, I have seen a question from Bim Badur Galey. If that maybe will be interesting to answer, that can one proposal cover more than sub-team 1, 2, and 3? Is there a limit to respond only to one sub-team? My first understanding, I think, is that it is also a little bit defined by the national funds. So not all partners fund all 3 subtopics. So there is already some limitation that maybe if you have certain partners, they cannot work on all sub-teams. But maybe Elena, if you have some additional insights in how to approach this.
We have indicated in the call announcement that every researcher should apply to one, or every group should apply to one sub-theme. So you should try to see which is the subtopic which is more closer to what you have in mind for your proposal.
We have reoccurring question that is not an evaluation, but Elena, maybe this is still good to repeat and take. There is a question from USMV Bucharest. Are there any limitations in terms of number of proposals that can be submitted by different researchers in different research teams, but within the same organization?
Within the same organization, if you are different people, you can submit different proposals. Yes. Then what we ask is that the same researcher does not apply with more than one proposal, and if possible, his research team, at least the person with whom he works or she works. Yes.
From Vladia Arnatu, can the same institution submit more than one proposal?
Yes, it's the same thing I said before. Yes, there are big institutions which have many people working in different groups, and so the same institute in the same many groups can participate if they belong to the same institution. The only rule we have set is that one researcher cannot apply more than once.
Thank you. I think we should move to the third part of presentation, and I thank Elena for evaluation part. I kindly invite Alice Albertini to introduce the core organic submission tool. And then we will take some further questions, clarification for Alice's presentation, and general questions at the end of her introduction. So please, Alice.
Thank you, Ivan and Elena. Next slide, please. So Core Organic provides a web-based tool to carry out the application procedure. And here you can find the link. Proposals should be submitted by the coordinator before the deadline. They can be modified and saved as many times as needed. Please note that incomplete proposals using a different format or exceeding length limitation of any sections will be rejected without further review. Next slide, please. This is the home page of the Core Organic submission systems. From here, you can download the call announcement, which include the guidelines for the submission of project proposals. And from this page, you have three options. You can visit the partnering forum, you can insert your profile in the metadatabase, and you can submit your proposal. Whatever the choice, the first step is to create your personal account. Next slide, please. After registration, your account will be activated from the message you will receive by email. Always check your spam folder, and in case you can't find the confirmation, write to the technical support. Next. Before the submission of any application, coordinators and partners of the consortium should fill in their personal data in My Profile and My Organization sections. You will be asked to insert your organization data, personal data, to upload your CV, fill in your disciplines and food categories. Next, please. Once registered, you can also use the partnering forum if you are interested in finding partners for creating your consortium. The partnering forum is a tool for researchers who are willing to establish a project consortium and are looking for partners. So as I saw some questions in the chat related to finding partners, the advice is to visit the partnering forum, read the messages, or post a new one. Next, please. Now let's see the electronic submission system. The entire project proposals application procedure will be carried online using this electronic submission system. And the templates and the online forms that you will find there. And only application submission via these online tools will be accepted. It is highly recommended, the previous slide, sorry. It is highly recommended to submit the final version of the proposal well in advance of the deadline to avoid failure due to last-minute technical problems. Next, please. So each proposal consists of 3 parts. Part A contains the general information about the project, coordination information, including budgetary table, and the consortium partners information and budgetary table. This part has to be filled in online. Part B contains the overall budgetary table, and it is automatically generated in the ESS. Part C contains the project description, and the coordinator has to download the template provided in the ESS, fill in, and submit it as a PDF file. Next, please. Only the project coordinator can start, modify, and submit the proposal. So when entering in the ESS, the project coordinator has to select the project coordinator key. Next. Each project partner will be invited by the project coordinator, and the project partner can only accept and modify the partnership data. So when entering in the ESS, the project partner has to select the project partner key. Next. Let's see the steps you have to do to successfully complete the submission procedure. Step 1, the project coordinator registered at the ESS and fills in the profile information in the metadatabase, as we saw before. Step 2, the same for the partners within the consortium. They have to register their profile information in the metadatabase. Step 3, the project coordinator can start the submission process, filling in all the information requested. And next slide. For the step 4, the project coordinator selects all partners within the consortium. The partners will appear in this list if they are registered on the metadatabase. So please note that only after the coordinator has filled in all the information requested for the part A, the coordinator can invite the partners. The coordinator has to select each partner from the list. Then by clicking on the green plus, the partner will be automatically invited by email. Next, please. At this point, each partner received an alert via email and has to validate the partnership. Project partners fills out all the information requested. And if you want to join the partnership, you have to accept the invitation received by email. Otherwise, you can't proceed with the proposal submission. Next, please. So the first part to be filled in, both for the project coordinator and the partners, is part A. Part A contains the project general information, the information related to the coordinator, including the own budgetary table. And in this case, we strongly suggest to read the CORE rules and the national regulations before filling in the budgetary table. Next, please. It contains the information related to each partner, including each partner budgetary table. Next. A declaration of knowledge of the national regulations. During the preparation of the project proposal, it is mandatory for each applicant to consider the national regulations and is strongly advised to contact the respective national contact point for all clarifications about national rules, priority, eligibility of project costs, which may vary between the different funding bodies. Next. And last but not least, the letter of commitment. That is a declaration of in-kind contribution for applicants who are not eligible for funding by their funding body or applicants from countries not participating in the call. So as in the chat, there were some questions related to partners from countries not funded by the call. In this case, you have to attach a letter of commitment. Next slide, please. Part B is automatically generated in the electronic submission systems and contain the overall budgetary table. the total budgetary table and country summary tables. These tables can be useful to the consortium because the applicants have to remember that the total eligible budget per country must not exceed 70% of the total eligible project budget in order to achieve balanced partnership and ensure that the responsibility and risks are shared. Next, please. So at this point, as step 6, the project coordinator checks if part A is complete. As we said, part B is automatically generated. And at step 7, the project coordinator uploads part C as PDF file. The template is available to be downloaded as Word file. It has to be filled in and uploaded as PDF. Next, please. Part C contains the project description and the section for ethical issues. Next. And the final step, step 8, the project coordinator checks the generated PDF of the whole project proposal and press submit. Before submitting, you can create and save the final PDF. When everything is ready, you can proceed and submit the proposal. You will be asked a confirmation of final submission, and when you click on yes, you won't be able to modify your proposal anymore. Next, please. At this point, if all the information has been filled in, all the documents have been uploaded, the proposal will be correctly sent. After submission, you will receive a confirmation email, and you will be able to see your submission every time you enter in the ESS. Next. This was the final slide. Do you have any question about the submission system or general question? I think we have 10 minutes, more or less.
Thank you, Alice. There was a question saying that, could you please explain the red text about 70% of budget? I did not understand. Okay. We can go back to this slide maybe and have some additional information about it.
Yes, all the information showed in these slides are available in the annex of the call announcement. So I strongly suggest to read the text.
We have missed the slide. It's closer to the end.
No, it's not this one.
Closer to the end.
It's part B. Yes.
Yeah, just missed.
Slide. Yes. All the partners and the coordinator will fill in the budgetary table. Then the system will generate these overall tables with the summary for countries. You can't do anything at this step, but you can check that for your country, the total budget is not exceeding the 70% of the total eligible budget of the entire proposal. So this is why you can check this. It's useful to check this table. But always read the national rules for the funding, because there can be a minimum or a maximum amount per project proposal according to the funders.
Thank you, Alice. From Anne-Christine Leus, I cannot find a template for the project description.
You mean, if you mean part C, It is because you have to fill in, you have to be the coordinator, so you have to register in the ESS, start a new proposal, fill in the required information of part A, and then part C will be available.
We have a question from Vittoria Giannini. Should partners co-finance the proposal with hours of permanent personnel? Don't know if this is feasible to answer.
It depends on the national rules. So for permanent personnel, the expense of permanent personnel are related to their own funding. In case of MIPA, for example. And I'm not sure that I replied to this question correctly.
If I can intervene, the question was if it's required that the partner has to co-finance the project. So as it happens, for example, for live project, that you have to co-finance with the 40% of budget given by the hours worked by the personnel of the research unit. So it's totally funded by the CORE Organic, or do we have to share
the project is totally funded by CORE Organic. There could be sometimes national requirements that partners from that country, I think from Estonia, for instance, they have a 5% of co-funding rate together with the budget. Elena, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the live project mechanism, the funding mechanism is different than applied in CORE Organic in this ERANET schemes.
Yes, it's exactly what I wanted to say. You're right. Yes.
In the case of MIPAP, it is financed up to 99% of the requested cost.
Yes, but in general, we can say that we do not ask, as CORE Organic Consortium, we do not ask any co-funding. But yes, always please read your national regulations, because there can be some detail. So it's good to, but the general rule of CORE Organic is not to ask any co-funding.
Thank you.
There is a question from Andrea Adelmo. Is it possible for non-profit organizations to participate if it's involved in research? There are also other questions from colleagues asking about the private partners. In all these aspects of having non-research partners, so not research institutions, it's only important to see the national rules. In some countries, all type of partners are admitted. In some countries, only research institutions are admitted. So there is no one single answer for all countries to these questions. You have to contact the national contact point from the country where you would like to have this partner, which is maybe non-profit or some other kind of organization or private organization. USAMV Bucharest, does co-financing brings any benefits for the applicants during the evaluation process? What do you mean co-financing? There is formally no co-financing in CORE Organic, so it is envisaged for the in-kind partners that they bring their own resources. So for instance, Hungarian researchers, in case they have access to national, local funds or other funds, they can be part of the consortia, but they are funding themselves. In a sense, they are funding their participation in the projects. If this is what the question was. I think we are 11 o'clock, so maybe last 1 or 2 questions in case there are. I see from Martina Bavets a question: if there is a co-financing mentioned in the project, how it has to be proved with the cash flow or with working hours of regular employed persons in the institute. I'm not sure that this co-financing direction of questions has been understood correctly. It's in-kind contribution that is only for the partners that are not directly fundable by the call. And that is, I think, to be agreed within the consortia. So if you are a partner from Croatia, let's say, Croatia is not participating in the call, you would like to take part in the call, and then within the consortia that you are working with, you will have to discuss how your contribution will be integrated. And there are, of course, within the call text, there are some provisions of what kind of documents you have to prove. That could be for also non-governmental organizations or for private partners. So there is the co-financing is in case there is no funding within the call given by the funders.
And it's not important, let me add this, if it's not important what kind of in-kind contribution you gave, in case you decide to give this kind of in-kind of contribution. It's as you wish.
Weź psa, bo tu wyszedł.
Question from Valentina Ferrante: could it be useful to have endorsement letters by actors of organic producers? I could understand this as a support letters for the project. I think it will depend on type of project that you have, on your subject area. I think there is no single answer if it's useful or not. I think it depends on what is the research aspect that you're working on, and if this could be strengthening maybe involvement of end users or having other benefits for implementation of your work. I think that we have taken most of the question. We will analyze the chat and see if there are things still that have to be included. Any final recommendations or comments from Elena and from Alice maybe also?
There's a question about if we have a small enterprise in consortium, is it preferably? In the call announcement, we say that we really would like to have the transfer of knowledge to the end user. So in case an enterprise takes part in the proposal, participate in the proposal, this would be very positive from our point of view, and from the point of view of the call. It's one of the important aims of our call.
From my side, we have just released the electronic submission system. So in case you find any error, please write to the technical support and we'll try to fix it.
Last question from Paolo Aincarico. Shall non-funded partners provide budget reporting of their in-kind contribution? In the online system, Alice, what do we have for in-kind partners? Is only document that to be provided, or maybe you can have some few words?
We have a letter of commitment, the template that should be downloaded, fill in, and then upload again. And for the budgetary table, Elena, I don't think that is needed for the...
It could be, yes, in principle, it would be, we ask you to indicate your in-kind contribution so that we understand at the end what is the overall cost of the proposal.
We were hoping to have more time and have maybe even until 11:30 this session, but there are also parallel meetings where CORE Organic has to participate. And I think that we have managed to cover majority, if not all, questions also that are here. On behalf of CORE Organic and CORE Program Secretariat, Call Secretariat, I would really like to thank everybody that have participated today. We are working very closely with the research community. If you have any questions, please feel free to approach the Call Secretariat, colleagues Elena, Alice, Mariette, and Malene. And we hope that this session was useful for the start of your work. Thank you for today.
Thank you very much to all of you for your participation.
Thank you, and good luck for your submission.
Thank you to COL team, everybody that has worked on making these presentations possible, and thank you all the participants. Take care, and we remain in contact. 8th of March is the deadline, so we look forward to hear from you and your proposals, of course. The recordings will be available, so in case you have overheard something, please, the information will be available.
Thank you.